I'm Murray Carter. Welcome to Carter Cutlery's High Performance Tips. We're at Douglas Ridge Rifle Club in Estacada, Oregon with world champion rifle shooter Stan Pate. Stan, we got all sorts of auxiliary equipment here on the table that's necessary for shooting. Why don't you tell us a bit about what we got here?
Well, we have a little bit of everything, but just the basics on this. For having the rifle, having the load to make the rifle shoot accurately is extremely important, but it is only part of the equation. Yet you need the other things, especially for competition. If you're hunting, things are a little bit different. But let's go target shooting to start with, if that's okay. You'll need something like a shooting mat. It's not necessarily a requirement to shoot accurately.
Okay, let's see what this mat is all about. So it folds up. In this mat, you can actually put your rifle in there and fold it up in there.
Works as a gun case, yes.
Works as a gun case.
But on the line, what this will do for you, it gives you a nice platform to lay on, typically without laying in the mud or on the Tiggers or Chicks. Or
yeah, I noticed it's got some foam padding in there as well. Yeah, this one's made by Galati International.
And I have another version here that's by Creedmoor Sports.
Yep.
And we won't need to unroll it. It's just basically the same thing. Just roll it out. It's a shooting mat. It gives you something to lay on. That is important because if you're shooting in a sling, which we'll cover in a minute, that'll give you a nice place to rest your elbow to where your elbow doesn't slide around in the grass or in the mud or dig in, anything like that. But it also makes you much more comfortable. And shooting is about 95% between the ears. You can only.
It's a mental challenge.
It is. So the more comfortable you make yourself, the better you're going to shoot.
And then again, with accuracy, we're always looking for consistency, shot-to-shot consistency.
Absolutely.
Well, if you're laying on the same shooting mat, whether you're on grass or on gravel or in the forest, that's just one extra element of the consistency.
Absolutely. You're exactly right, Murray. We move over here to a jacket. There's some other things we're going to cover here. This is a leather shooting jacket. Now, I don't wear this anymore. I used to wear this when shooting Palma. And Palma is a long-range discipline, but you shoot it with iron sights. And you shoot it in a sling, and when you're shooting a scope rifle, you can still do that. There's a competition called any means any sight in your rifle, and you can still sling up, and some people still do. It's important to note that you will be, I believe, a little more consistent in a sling once you learn how to use one than typically you would be on for most folks on a bipod. Go ahead and try it on.
Yeah, it looks real interesting. I've never been in a straitjacket before, so we'll try this on. I heard that it's real tight fitting.
Well, this jacket is made out of leather. It's got breathable panels on the side. Some do, some don't. And you notice the sleeves are full. They're made that way on purpose.
Okay. So what do we do? What do we do next?
This thing is meant for you strap up. Now, most of these straps here you'll use more for offhand shooting than you will for prone shooting. In prone, typically you'll only hook the top one because what you want to do is hold your jacket tight for the position to position your buttstock.
For a shoulder pad there.
Right. There for offhand, if you shoot long range or offhand, just shoot back to a couple hundred yards, put these on, you tighten these things up.
And there it goes.
And
getting tight.
I'm actually having a little bit of fun doing this.
You know what? The last time I was manhandled like this was by my jump master in 1987 when I was part of the Canadian Airborne Division, jumping out of airplanes. Yeah, it kind of feels like I'm in that old parachute harness.
Well, see what it's done though? You feel how stiff you are front to back?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then for offhand, you might unzip this to give yourself a little bit more movement.
So why is there so much movement in the sleeves?
It doesn't add or detract away from your shooting, but you still need to be able to breathe.
In the body, yeah. Okay, so from this position, now that I've got the straitjacket on, we'll call it what it's called. It's a shooting jacket.
It's a shooting jacket.
Yeah, and these are probably custom made, tailor made?
Yes, you have them made for your measurements. You have to get yourself measured and send in the measurements.
That's probably a pretty expensive piece of gear.
I think it was around $350 when I bought it, and
that's not too
ago.
bad.
No.
I was thinking 1,000.
No.
Yeah, okay,
no.
well that's way
Now this rifle isn't really set up for shooting offhand, of course you can.
Look at all that weight up front.
But now you'll place the rifle in your shoulder.
Okay, place it there.
Okay.
Yep. We did a magazine check, chamber check. And then, now, I would typically, when I'm hunting, I'm going to lean forward a little bit. But how about with this setup?
Well, you want to be balanced. And typically what you do is you bring your hand back, and your arm will rest on your rib cage.
Okay. And I lean back a little bit and get what we call skeletal support?
Sure. But in keeping with what we're doing, this jacket, see how it stiffens you up in that? It reduces the movement to the sight. Well, there's a lot more elements to it, too much to cover just in a few minutes here, but that gives you an idea of what it's about. And again, you notice it even has a terry collar around it. to keep from chafing on your neck and all that.
Yeah, that's nice. Nice feature. Okay, so I've been a good boy. You're going to let me out of the jacket now?
Not exactly.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
For shooting prone,
Yes.
you'll use a sling. And this sling is not set up for your rifle, so we can't really demonstrate it on there. But we'll give you an idea how it works. On this, the sling...
You hooked something up down there, up here as well.
Right. The sling goes to your rifle. This is called a Sling Keeper.
Sling
Keeper,
Keeper,
mounts off your shoulder. And it'll come up to a point on your rifle.
Yes.
And at that point, your hand will come through it like that, and your rifle lays across here.
Oh, and then you can kind of put more or less tension on there.
Well, you put tension on, and you relax.
And you relax.
Yeah, you let it, you create a bone structure, a triangle, if you will.
Is that going to take those small vibrations out?
And once you learn how to do it, it'll take all of them out. Okay.
Enable you to shoot more accurately.
But anyway, that's the basics of a jacket. And as we've got here, there's a couple of different kinds of slings. I mean, there's a variety. Anything here, there's a variety of. There's these made out of different materials. Some are all cloth, cotton. Some are all leather. Some don't have the zippers features on it. Some do. It's just a matter of what you want to spend your money on. Now, in shooting with a sling, you would also use a shooting glove, and that fits on your hand to protect the back of your hand from from pain from the sling. You can feel how padded it is.
Yes, yes.
The rifle is set through here, and you can see how I've used mine. The sling goes over the back. And again, you can get a glove. I just happen to like the mitts like this because it lets me move my fingers and it lets me relax a little bit more.
Sure.
And they're easier to get off too. The gloves can be a little bit challenging to get off. On here we have a shooting hat. And this one's awfully dirty. I've used this all over the place. And some people put scare pins on them for different matches around.
So that's a psychological element there.
No, what it is
The guy next to you sees those and he just gives up and packs up and goes home?
Never works that way. They usually shoot better. But what it is it shields your eyes from the sunlight getting in your eyes.
Sure.
And so it gives you an advantage. You can see where it's set. If you're aiming through here, it's set on top of your scope. And
it doesn't hurt to be touching the rifle. That doesn't
you don't want anything
influence
touching up here, but it just gives you an added advantage of being able to focus better on your sight picture. The shooting stool basically is just a place to hold stuff. All this stuff we have out here except the jacket, you can put it all in your shooting stool and carry it in one bag instead of having to carry it hanging.
So it's kind of like a backpack with legs.
Yeah, and you can sit on it to keep up your log books and all that as you're shooting.
And you could sit on it to spot for another fellow if you
absolutely. In fact, that's generally what you use it for. On the shooting side, something else, and you brought this up earlier about the difference in the bags, and it was very apropos. There is, on the back of your bag, if you're shooting any kind of F-class competition, you're allowed to have a bag under the rear of your rifle. You can also do the same thing hunting. They make tactical bags. They make, bunny ear bags like this would be a little too heavy to take hunting.
Sure.
But they make nylon bags. They're called tactical bags. Now this is filled with heavy sand, and the buttstock of your rifle cradles right in here. It's cradled by this, and you can slide it forward or backwards to raise or lower your rifle.
Now you say heavy sand. Is that different from just normal sand?
Right. It's just that, a little heavier. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. It's just heavy sand.
Where do you get heavy sand? Do you buy it?
From the heavy sand store.
Okay. From the heavy sand store. I'll do a Google search.
And or you can use a bag like this is one of yours, and you can use that underneath. And the neat thing about these, if you have your rifle setting, you can squeeze them to raise the back of your rifle. You can relax it to lower it down to fine-tune your sight picture. This you'd use more on a bench. It's a little bit bigger, or you can shoot your rifle over the top of this. You can have the stock setting on this with one of these bags back behind it.
Now when you're shooting on a bench, even if you've got a rifle that is set up with a bipod, folding up your bipod and shooting off of the bag is going to be a little bit more accurate, I understand.
It can be, unless you've really studied how to shoot with the bipod. And there are tricks to that trade.
Like preloading the legs.
Right. Yeah. Anything you do on the rifle is going to affect where your round goes. So the less effect you can have on your rifle, the more accurate you're going to be.
Now what do we have in these boxes here?
Oh, these are some tools. One thing that I live religiously by is my torque wrench. I have learned basically have that you can get a little bit more accuracy out of torquing your receiver screws. You can tune them like a lot of people tune small bore rifles. So I have taken the time to learn what the torque settings are that my rifles like. So whenever I go out to shoot, whether it's a tactical match, a long range match, even the hunting pistol you saw earlier in one of the segments, I know what the torque setting is that pistol likes. When I go hunting, I check it before I go out and go hunting.
And then you have that shot-to-shot consistency again. And
right.
If you need to take the rifle apart for cleaning or for some kind of maintenance, you can assemble it back with the same torque settings, and you're right back to where you started from.
Exactly right. Now this is only one style. There are many styles of these, so don't get hung up on this is the only one.
I have a funny story for you, Stan, about torque wrenches. The first time I got into torquing my bolts on my scope bases, I didn't know the difference between inch-pound pressures and foot-pound pressure. And it was supposed to be 25 inch-pounds pressure, and I was doing it with, you know, like a snap-on torque wrench. And I was going for 25 pounds and snapped the bolt right in half.
You're not the first to do that, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I figured there must have been something wrong at that point.
Now, a good quality set of screwdrivers for anything on a rifle or pistol or even any of your equipment, you're always going to be involved in maintenance sometime or another, whether it's mounting a scope, taking one off, whether it's disassembling a bolt or taking a rifle apart to clean and lubricate. If it's been wet all day, you want to take it out and clean it. This is a Wheeler set, and they're a pretty good set. This is your set, I believe.
Yes.
And you want to be able, no matter what, pay the money and get a good quality set. Don't get the cheapy sets.
You mean you can't use your Leatherman tool to take your whole rifle apart?
I know people that do that, and their rifles look like they did that.
and their rifles probably shoot like they do that too.
Yeah, a few of them shoot, but they make up for it in other ways. But yeah, this is a very good set. Spend the money, get them. You're going to need them. Why not buy a good set to begin with?
Sure, just like Carter Cutlery. If you're going to get one, you might as well get the best.
That's it.
There you go.
That's it. Carry one.
Okay, Stan, tell me about some of these notepad-looking things here.
All right. Well, Murray, we got kind of just a collection here from one end to the other, and I've used all three of these, and it's kind of a progression for me. I started out with nothing more complex than
a notebook.
And I put a place for where I'm at, the date, the target, the wind conditions, the light conditions, mirage, elevation, all those. And all this plays a part because your elevation, of course, the atmospheric conditions for how your bullet's going to react at a different elevation.
More or less molecules in the air are going to affect the aerodynamics of the bullet.
Exactly right.
Yep.
You know, and then what equipment I'm using, and then my settings for different distances at that range under those conditions.
So if you like those settings, you can go back, look at your notes, and repeat them. So this is just a way of recording your successes, your not your successes, and then you can study that and become a better shooter.
Exactly. Well, what it does is it makes you better off right off the start. You don't have to waste some cider shots, or you don't lose points your very first rounds down range. And that's what that is.
So that's a low end. That's the economy model notepad there.
Yeah, that's where I started at, and you'll see a lot of shooters still using those, and there's nothing wrong. I went from that to some targets that I downloaded offline. And I made up my own data book, and it has a place to enter all the same conditions: your starting dope, your ending settings, any elevation or windage changes you made during the string, and then what your ending elevation and windage settings are, and then where you plot each shot on the target.
Wow, that's a lot of work, but this is the extra detail a serious shooter will go to in order to be competitive.
Oh, it can easily make the difference between winning and not winning. From there, this is Ed Begg. This is V-Bolt Precision out of Canada. Real nice guy. I've dealt with him. I use a lot of his stuff. From there, you can get the pages. These are actually pages for both domestic and international. And they do have a slightly different target. And I keep them as separate pages. So if I go to an international match, I carry those.
Okay.
If I'm domestically shooting, I carry these. But you can see where it's got much the same place, much the same information. And most of them will have. Most of the upper end.
You got wind direction there, speed. Atmospheric conditions,
and then
a record of all your shots you took.
Place where the shots all hit.
And you've got them numbered as well.
Exactly. Well, and these are the values. And there's another reason for it. In competition, say you're scoring my target, you could miss a shot, and how would I know? But if I'm keeping track of my own shots, I can go back and see what you've entered and say, oh, you missed shot 17.
Oh, you'd be a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Meticulous.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've already covered shooting slings. This is just a variety of the one we put to the shooting jacket here. That leaves us this little apparatus here.
Yeah, and this is a Leica. This is a rangefinder, and if you're hunting, of course, you'll use this a lot more for hunting. Some tactical matches, however, will let you use a rangefinder. Some won't. And at that point, you'll have to use like a reticle in your scope to range find.
Because once you go past 100, 200 yards, precisely knowing your range is paramount in making an accurate shot because of the parabolic arc that the bullet travels in after it comes out of the barrel.
Wow, that's a big word too. I'm glad you remembered that one. Anyway, this is a rangefinder, Leica, a very good one, and there's many of them out there. Leupold, Bushnell, a lot of people make them. Very nice rangefinders. But those can be used to go exactly what the distance is to your target. Some will even give you an offset for the angle that you're shooting at. Say it's 300 yards to the target, but you're shooting 15 degrees uphill. You need to aim like you're
at 285.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot. This is a matter of pocketbook as to how much you can afford.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up pocketbook because that was the next thing I wanted to talk about. You know, all of these things come at a price.
Right.
And you know, it's just all too common that a lot of guys who buy guns and go hunting, the last thing they do is buy an expensive knife. Usually they buy a $30 knife with a $1,500 expensive rifle, and that mentality just doesn't compute. All of these things cost a lot of money too, and although I'm sure everyone wants to dump all their money into the hardware, it's these auxiliary items that you just don't want to skimp on if you really want to be a precision shooter, if you want to compete, and if you just want to be the best shot you can be.
You know, Murray, I've got something, and I'll tell you the same thing as I tell everybody else. You pay for quality once. You pay for quality once, whether it's your rifle, your jacket, any of your data books, your tools. It is worth your time and your money to buy the best you can buy the first time. And then you don't have to look back, or you don't have to say, I wish I'd have had that, or it wouldn't have broke if I'd bought this other one. Same thing with knives. Yep. Exactly the same thing.
Well, there you have it, folks. Now that's a Carter Cutlery high performance tip.